So there are obviously two parts of the tailgate. The first thing that needs to be adjusted is the bottom part here, because what's going to happen is that that's obviously going to be closed, and then when that is closed, then this gets adjusted relative to the position of this. The way to adjust this one here, you can see you've got the two lugs where it actually catches down in here. Those bits there, you just get your fingernails in there, just pull those out. There are two 12mm in there. So what we're going to do is actually close it up, and then just get your 12mm socket and undo them on both sides, or just loosen them so that it actually moves. You can actually move this back and forth, and then what we're going to do is push on the center, and whilst we're pushing in hard so everything's nice and even from the center, I'm actually going to go and tighten each side, and then that will be adjusted correctly. Now if it's a little bit loose or a little bit tight, you can just loosen them again and push a little bit harder, or not quite as hard, but then that is going to get that into the correct position. Also what's critical, because as you can see, when that's up, when the chassis starts to flex a little bit, the actual locking points here are actually going to move in those lugs. So put a light layer of grease on these, because that's where actually I have most of my noise coming from. To actually have that so these can actually move left and right slightly without creaking, will stop a lot of the noise. And then once you've got that adjusted, then we're going to adjust the tailgate, and the adjustment for that are these points on the side. All we're going to do is have that up, get inside the car and lock it down, and then we're going to use a 5mm socket on the inside here to adjust these up and down so they lock correctly into these lugs up in here. The way the tailgate actually works is with this locked in place, this will actually move down and actually pull the tailgate into it when this actually detects that it's actually been latched. So if I push that up and lock that correctly, that one there will actually move down. It goes down about 5 millimeters or so, and if I release this thing will actually release. So what's happening is when you actually lower the thing down, it locks, it grabs it, pulls it down hard, and what you want to do is pull it down so it's nice and snugly in here. So initially you're going to have these all the way down, get inside the car, close the tailgate, allow this to pull itself nice and closed, and then you're going to adjust these so they push out hard against those lugs, and then once that's done, then the thing's adjusted correctly. So the latch itself on the sides here, I've just pulled that one off just to show you what's going on. When it goes in, this is the actual locking mechanism, that one just there, but the side of it, which is the bit towards the outside of the car, is going to slide along that one there, okay, in there like that, and then it's going to click into place. And once it's actually clicked in place, it can't actually move back and forth. It's just the perfect size, but it can actually move left and right. So to explain how these connection points on the side for the tailgate actually work, I've pulled the one out from the other side just to have a look at it and to see how all the adjustments are. You can see that there's that big torque screw, that's a C30 that you can see from the outside, and on the inside, so it would be mounted like, actually be mounted like that in the car on the other side. Underneath it, you've got a 10mm socket that goes onto an M6 screw, which is obviously just to hold it in place. In addition to that, you've got this one, which is big 18mm, which again just holds it in place. And then you've got this screw here, which actually adjusts this thing back and forth, which is the adjustment mechanism you've got. That is a 5mm socket. So as you can see, in this left-hand thread, meaning it goes out when you screw righty-tighty from the inside, which is where you're going to be doing the adjustments. You can actually just take that all the way out, and when you take that all the way out, it gets to a point where it just won't screw any further, and then that'll just pull straight off. There's a screw that actually does the adjusting in and out, and that fits into this thing here. That there on the other side is actually a T30 as well, so from the outside you can actually adjust these if you wanted to. So you can see there's actually a rubber plug, which is just a little one that goes in there. You just push that in from the outside, but if you pick that out you can actually adjust that with a T30, but it's actually easier from the inside. And the way this fits together is that there's a wedge there that this thing actually slides on, and then once it's actually slid in place, it gets to about there, and then obviously you can just screw that on. And to adjust this from the inside, you want to have that all the way in like that. Okay, so now once it's like that, what I can do is go and fit this to the car, so it's going to be sitting there like this. I'm going to put the two on the inside, so that's when I pull out just those access places on the back left and right. I'm going to have this, and it's just going to be sitting there. I can actually just move this up and down. I'll probably just have that one in there as well. And then what I want to do is obviously get inside, close both the tailgates, and then what I'm going to do is get my 5mm socket and then just move that out. And as you can see, when it moves out, it's actually going to move that whole piece there. So it's going to move that out until that now is nice and firmly against the bump stop that's actually on the tailgate itself. And then once it's reasonably tight, because you actually want it to pull relatively hard against it, then that's going to be in the right position. You want that the same on both sides. And once you've adjusted that out to the correct position, then you can just go ahead and tighten the 18mm, tighten that 10mm, and then you can just jump out of the car, and from the outside you can tighten that T30 Torx there, and everything's adjusted. To be honest, it takes about 10 seconds to do. I've noticed on some videos I've seen online where this thing here has come out. That's actually just a big rubber stopper that sits in there, and it's actually quite large. If you pluck it out, it actually goes all the way down to about here, and it's just jammed in there. If that's come out or it's been damaged, then that maybe needs to be replaced, or push that down into the correct spot, because it's this whole piece which moves up and down, not that rubber stopper in the middle. It should stay in place the whole time. To get this thing to the point where it can actually move, you'd think you'd just be able to loosen these off and then move it, but because there's going to be years and years of grime in there, it's just going to be stuck. And there's also a rubber backing pad on here which sticks to this a little bit. So what you'll need to do is remove all those connection points, and then you'll probably have to pry it off a little bit to get it off, clean everything up, and then you can put that on there. And from the inside here, obviously you have access to where you are going to put all the two nuts on the inside there. Then we're going to put that screw on the outside. Make sure it's loose, and you should be able to just move it up and down like that. So when you actually close the tailgate, it's going to go around and put it in the right spot, but then when you push it out and adjust it so it's nice and tight against that bump stop, it's going to move it in the right spot. Whilst I was doing this, I could actually just sort of wiggle it a bit to make sure it actually went up into the right spot, and when it's nice and tight, then you can just tighten everything up and you're done. And the last thing that I would suggest doing, and this has really helped me, is I use carbon graphite just as a lubricant. And I put it along here, and then you slide it up and down, and on the fluffy bit underneath here it gets coated with it, and all along here, and I found that makes a big difference, as well as in the bump stops here and the corresponding bit on the tailgate. That bump stop there, put a little bit of carbon graphite on there. You probably only have to do it once a year because it stays there for a long time, and I found that really made a big difference as well.